I have put together a few hints, tips and tweaks that I've done to my DJI Inspire 1 that may be of interest to you. A lot of this is common sense and there may be some parts that you were not aware of, but I'll show you what I've done to remedy some of the issues that I found. Looking from the front of the aircraft on the right hand side, there is a black and white wire that is extremely close to part of the metal structure. When the aircraft is in the air, there is a possibility of the vibrations rubbing through the wires and causing a short. The easy fix for me was to use a small piece of rubber tubing about 1 inch by 3/16 of an inch or 25 millimeters by 4 millimeters, and simply using a pair of scissors cut up through the center as shown. Open up the tubing until it's flat, then simply slide it between the white and black wires and the metal structure. There is sufficient room for the rubber to go up with ease. When correctly in place, the black and white wires will be protected against rubbing and shorting out on the metal structure. On both sides of the craft there are two black thin coax cables that run from the inside of the Inspire through the landing gear and runs down to the antennas which are on the legs. These cables should be allowed to move and flex, especially when the landing gear is raised and lowered. If the cables are rubbing against the metal structure, gently bend them away from it so they do not chafe or rub through. When the landing gear is down, the landing gear worm drive is protected with a flexible rubber tubing. When the landing gear is raised, the worm drive is open to the elements. It is lubricated with a thin layer of grease, which is a potential trap for dirt, dust and sand, so keep an eye open for that. You should have a small amount of movement on the legs. This is required and necessary for the smooth operation of the landing gear when raising and lowering. Do not be tempted to try and tighten or loosen the nut on the landing gear, as this will invalidate any of your warranty. These would have been tightened to the correct torque at the DJI factory when manufactured. Do not break the warranty seals. The camera gimbal protection cap can be a bit awkward sometimes when trying to put it back on. When you have the cap in the correct place, it will push and snap into place. I simply made a label that I could stick onto the protection cap so it would indicate where the cap was to line up with the gimbal so it would click on with ease. I did put cam on this label because the protection caps for the craft and the camera are different. As you can see, it's much easier now to find the correct place to push the cap onto the gimbal. Again, with the craft, you need to get the protection cap on the right way round before you are able to lock it into place. So I put a small piece of white tape as shown here to mark on the cap and make it easy to put the cap on when needed. This really makes life easy for me now, getting that cap on and off. Buy good quality micro SD cards, class 10 or UHSIs. These need to be good enough for the high-speed capture and transfer for your 4K video. So the ones I buy are the PNY type with 100 megabyte transfer. These I found extremely good. Clicking the battery button switch once, it will tell you the state of charge of the battery. Pressing and holding the button down until the little red light flashes, it should tell you the state of the battery. 4 lights on is a good battery, less than 4 there may be issues with that battery. The complementary charging cable that comes with the Inspire 1 is quite a good idea. It enables you to use one of your batteries to charge up the remote controller. Simply plug one end into your battery and the other end into the remote controller. Turn the battery on as you normally do, push once, then push and hold until the battery switches on. It will now start charging the remote controller. People do have a tendency of buying a lot of batteries and they do forget they need extra power for that remote controller. This is a real good facility. Putting your contact details on your Inspire 1 is a good idea, with the possibility of a reward, just in case. There's a little technique that I use for removing my battery on the Inspire. Squeezing either side of the battery and levering on either side levers up quite easily. Pulling it out in one hand can be quite difficult. When replacing the battery, using a pinch technique to securely lock the battery in place. This saves pushing down on the battery and putting pressure on the landing gear. Don't forget from time to time to clean the small camera and the ultrasonic sensors. Short micro USB cables are provided with the Inspire, but the iPad, if you want a short one, they are available on Amazon. There is 2 types, there's the straight or the curly wire type. I will put a link below to show you the locations where you can get these from. I've numbered my batteries and try to use them in that order. This helps me keep control of their usage, as I did have a tendency to use one battery more than the others. In the area where the manuals were kept, I now use this area for the iPad Air 2. The case needs to be adjusted slightly. I have put a link in the bottom to the modification that I've done on the case. I hope that these hints and tips were of use to you. Thank you for watching, and you fly safe.